Black Op Radio presents 50 Reasons for 50 Years. Why the Warren Commission may be the greatest fraud perpetrated on the American public. Now your host, Len Osanic.
The Warren Commission, a real investigation or political smokescreen? Just who were these people and how was it really put together? Researcher Walt Brown reveals the background of the commission and just what was going on behind the curtain.
This is Walt Brown. The Warren Commission was not created to discover the entire truth of the Kennedy assassination or even a sliver of it. There were loud public outcries following the televised execution of Lee Oswald, and both the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives were prepared to hold public hearings of the assassination and subsequent death of the suspect in custody. To prevent what might be a series of discoveries that could not be allowed to be made, and despite his and Hoover's detestation of the concept, newly installed President Johnson began putting together the idea of a blue ribbon commission and went about carefully constructing it to suit his needs as well as the needs of countless others whose involvement in the assassination could never be known. A little-known fact then and now is that the Warren Commission was paid for out of presidential funds. Who were they? A leading jurist was needed to lend dignity to the proceedings, and because Hoover had incriminating material on Earl Warren because of marital infidelities, he was the natural choice. John McCloy was the Washington, D.C. emissary to the banking and security interests in America, and as the head of the War Crimes Task Force in Germany following World War II, he had never had difficulty pronouncing the word guilty with or without supporting evidence. Gerald Ford was the FBI liaison, and at any time a problem arose, Ford paid a quick visit to Cartha Deke DeLoach, one of the highest ranking among the upper echelon of the FBI. The ultimate irony in any mention of Ford and Warren is that prior to the Warren Commission, a resolution to impeach Earl Warren was introduced in the U.S. Congress. Gerald Ford sponsored it on behalf of the Good Old Boys Network that opposed the kind of decisions that the Warren court had made and the kind of decisions that President Kennedy would make if he remained in office. Hale Boggs was the alcoholic congressman from Clay Shaw's district in Louisiana. He would not cause any problems. Richard Russell, in failing health, was nevertheless dragooned onto the commission by LBJ, as Russell was the chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee and was also the Senate link to the intelligence community. He resigned from the commission twice, refused to sign the conclusion, and was the absentee member of the group. John Sherman Cooper was the closest thing John Kennedy had as a friend on the commission, but he fell well behind Warren, McCloy, and the final member in the pecking order. The final member of the commission was Allen Dulles, whose bungled Bay of Pigs initiative had led to his removal by JFK from his position as the head of the CIA. The announcement of his appointment to the Warren Commission raised few eyebrows in the United States, but in foreign capitals it was understood that with the Dulles CIA connection on the commission, there would be no real investigation and certainly no justice. Two of the leading staff attorneys were future Senator Allen Specter and Albert Jenner. Specter came from a background of military intelligence. Jenner was connected to the fraudulent contract obtained in Texas by General Dynamics to build the controversial TFX fighter plane. Between John Connally, his Navy Secretary successor Fred Korth, Deputy Defense Secretary Roswell Kirkpatrick, and Jenner, you had the core group of people who created and financed the swindle that would have put Vice President Lyndon Johnson behind bars. And only the elevation to the presidency in a time of national crisis kept Lyndon Johnson out of jail. The Warren Commission would not allow Lee Oswald to be represented by counsel, claiming it was not the purpose of the commission to be an advocacy for the guilt of any one individual. Yet the first three witnesses, by the oddest of coincidences, all had the same last name, Oswald, and were related to a stock boy who was employed in the Texas School Book Depository. But to guard everyone's legal rights, Walter Craig, the head of the American Bar Association, was appointed as a watchdog and perhaps even devil's advocate. He attended the testimony of only 6 witnesses, yet it was enough time to demonstrate that he knew nothing about the assassination of President Kennedy. The biggest single lie to emanate from the Warren Commission was their version of President Kennedy's wounds, a chore that was handled almost exclusively by former Army intelligence operative Arlen Specter. Any testimony regarding a wound in Kennedy's back was changed in Specter's continuing questioning to the wound in his neck. Analogously, any mention of damage to the back or side of Kennedy's head was restated by Specter to be damage to the top of the head. Specter made certain that the autopsy photographs would never be published, and except for bootleg copies, they have never been seen by the American public in the 50 years since those photos were taken, or at least the ones that still exist in what was originally a much larger collection. The X-rays were also not published, as they depicted evidence that would challenge the official verdict. Instead, the chief prosector at the autopsy, Commander James Humes, had drawings made which have since been denounced as fraudulent by the medical illustrator who created them. They depict anatomical impossibilities as well as positioning of the president totally inconsistent with what can be correctly seen in the Zapruder film. The Warren Commission's versions of events was prepackaged, and any testimony that was not in perfect alignment was simply wrong. Dallas doctors and nurses all saw damage that did not exist to the Warren Commission. They were all wrong. Dozens of people heard one or more shots from in front of the president's limousine. They were all wrong. High-ranking Marine Corps officers testified that Lee Oswald was, and I quote, a rather poor shot. Obviously, that had to be wrong. Stooges were found to fill in the gaps. Army officers came forward to extol the virtues of the war surplus rifle found in the book depository, as well as the virtues of the plastic Japanese telescopic sight. Individuals, and a good number of them, positively identified Lee Oswald as being at certain places and at clearly specified times when Lee Oswald could not have been there. They, too, were all wrong. But we all know that which was all wrong, don't we?
Stay tuned for the next installment as we expose week after week 50 lies the Warren Commission would like you to believe.